So this video is from start to finish, covering the Wolfman Triathlon up in White Lake, Wisconsin. Now the purpose of this video is to basically go from start to finish what this race is all about. The kayaking portion, you're going to see I sped up the video in some of the flat water areas because there's not much to see. You're basically just watching me paddle across the flat water. But this is the start. You're going to see that once every 30 seconds, here we go.
3, 2, 1.
Once every 30 seconds, they start a paddler. So I was boat number 14. So I was the 14th person to start that morning. They started 8 o'clock in the morning, and there's 13 other boats in front of me. And you'll see that this V7 surf ski, I kind of showed a picture of it there that was gathered by the race folks. The V7 surf ski did a really good job of navigating this course, and it was pretty fast. So the V7 surf ski is 17 feet long, 21 and a quarter inches wide. It's made from polyethylene plastic. And the reason I chose the V7 was, well, if I fall out, I get right back on top. There's no issues with a spray skirt that you have to deal with, that sort of thing. And my theory was that it was going to slip between the rocks with no problem, whereas some of the wider kayaks, you would have to kind of go over the top. With a wider kayak, you don't have the ability to slip in between. It proved to be a pretty good kayak for the race. I don't regret paddling the V7 for the race. As a matter of fact, I would recommend it, pretty highly for this race. The polyethylene plastic can take a beating. Some of the carbon fiber and Kevlar and fiberglass boats would definitely take a hit. You can see right there I took a hit from a rock already early in the race. And I'm on the flat water going across, and that rock was just below the surface. I just popped that one. So the video, as you can see, is sped up quite significantly here. Going across the flat water, I think I passed maybe one person already, and going after the next. And there's a lot of areas in the river where your paddle is actually striking the bottom of the river, and that makes it kind of tough to get a nice paddle stroke, to get in there and do a nice vertical paddle stroke. Here the guy was trying to direct me left. I had to kind of crank it around to the left to avoid a rock garden that was off to the right of that portion of the course. But the V7, with the rudder, there's another rock I hit pretty good. With the rudder, it's pretty maneuverable, so you can actually crank in the rudder and get a nice turn out of it. Here's some of the white water that you can see. We have some safety boats off on the side, and one thing about the Wolfman Triathlon is they really do a good job manning that race and getting people out there who can help you out if you have trouble on the river. And as you can see, it's not a real torrential whitewater run. This is a pretty mild, maybe a class 2 whitewater, and I would say a novice or intermediate paddler can navigate this pretty easily, which makes it a really cool race. It just has enough rapids and bumping off of rocks to make it interesting, and you can kind of crank right along. So prior to the race, they have a boat inspection. For obvious reasons, it is a class 2 whitewater run. They don't want people swamping and not being able to continue the race, so they require that you either have a kayak that has compartments on the front and back, or flotation bags installed in the kayak. And the same goes with canoes. If you have an open canoe, they want you to have a flotation bag in the front and then in the back of your canoe. If it's a tandem canoe, they require a large flotation between the two paddlers, just so if you do dump your kayak or canoe, it's not going to sink, and you're able to do a quick reset and get back in and get moving. They also require, if you're a sit-inside kayak, they require a neoprene spray skirt. And in my case, I was racing the V7 surf ski, and there was no need for any spray skirt because obviously it doesn't have any chance of sinking if I flip it over. I just jump back on top and start paddling again. It doesn't have that problem of getting swamped. So you can see it is a pretty challenging little course. You're bumping off of rocks and you're going over some spills, and it's really fortunate. Last year was my first year running this race, and last year my number was a lot higher, so there was a lot of people ahead of me, whereas this year I only had 13 people in front of me in this race. So what happens in the rapids sometimes is you get pile-ups, people wiping out and kind of resetting, and which causes the person behind them to do the same thing, and kind of clogs up the runs. So if you have a nice clean run planned, there's another rock I'm bouncing off of. If you have a nice clean run ahead of you and it's clogged up with 2 boats or 3 boats, then you have to make an alternative run, and it kind of slows things down just a bit if you have a higher number. That's just one of my learnings. I really hope I get chosen to be one of the front boats next year, because I do intend to do this again. It's a neat race. Now the other factor with the V7 is it has a drop-down rudder which is spring-loaded, and if I hit a rock with the rudder, it will just spring up and go right back in place, no problem. And in some of the shallow areas, I'm not going to slow the video down, but some of these areas that I'm paddling right now, it gets pretty shallow, and you hear that rudder in the back of the boat going dunk, 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 dunk. It's bouncing off of the rocks as I'm paddling. And it's, during the same areas, my paddle is also hitting the rocks. So there are some shallow parts that you have to contend with in this race. And that, I would imagine that's a low water year this year. This river can get a little higher. Now you could see this is an example of taking an alternative line. That guy on the left, I actually took my kayak in an alternative route to the right to try to avoid interfering with his race. I certainly didn't want to mess around with his race, but here I got caught up in some of the rocks on the shoreline, trying to be a nice guy. But it didn't take long for me to get back on track and get away from that darn shore. Here I'm just stalled. It looks like the eddy kind of grabbed me there. And he's kind of paddling ahead because he's out in that line that I wanted, but that's okay. I'll grab him here in a bit. Keep smiling and paddle on. And here's another nice little set of rapids. It seems the race just goes flat, flat water, and then another set of rapids, and then some more flat water, and another set of rapids. The whitewater kayak portion of the race is about 3 miles down the Wolf River. And here I'm catching this guy again, and this time
Coming on your left here.
Yep, passing on the left. Off we go. Now, about this time, I'm thinking about the end. I'm thinking, okay, at any moment now, at any turn, because I don't know the course like some of the racers. I'm pretty unfamiliar, just having run this thing twice now. But I'm looking for the bridge. The side of the bridge means you are there. That's where the transition is from the kayak to the mountain bike. So I've been passing people all along and doing a pretty good job of paddling. The V7 surf ski certainly paid off, and I didn't have very many people to contend with. I think later in the race you had a number of folks who had some pretty long and slippery boats, and they, I actually came in the 9th position overall. I think there was a couple of 100 paddlers, 250 or something like that, or contenders in the race, and I came in 9th as far as the kayak portion. Another factor that kind of played in also is the timing mat is at the top of the hill after you transition out of the kayak. So you get out of the kayak, put your kayak in the kayak area, and then you run up the hill, and there's the timing mat. And I didn't realize that. I ended up putting my shoes on next to my kayak and taking my socks off, my paddling shoes, and drying off my feet and taking a little bit of a breather. Then I started walking, and then eventually jogging, and then as I came up the hill, I thought, uh-oh, there's the timing mat. So I lost a bunch of time. So I'm not going to say that I would have done better by much, but it certainly played into the outcome of the race. I was number 9 out of everybody in the kayak portion of the race. But I'll know next year. I'm going to run up and throw my kayak on the shore, run past the timing mat, and then put my shoes on afterwards. Lesson learned. But here I am. It looks like we're coming close to seeing the bridge. We'll see what happens here. Now, I didn't turn my camera off at all there's the bridge, during the race. So you're seeing the full kayak portion of the race. But I did turn my camera off quite a bit during the mountain bike portion, and then also the running portion. I thought it would be too boring a video if I stayed rolling through the entire race. So you're seeing basically the entire kayak course. So it, of course, was sped up in the flat areas.
All right, number 14 is in second place.
You got it, man.
Okay, I have some stuff in here I need to change out.
All right.
Is it okay if I put it right here?
Yeah, and that was second place out of the 14 people, the 13 people that were ahead of me. That really didn't have any relevance regarding placing for the overall race. It just meant that out of the people who were ahead of me, I came in second, the second one through that area. I had a bit of trouble with my shifter during that portion. Now, about the time I'm coming out of the kayak and transitioning, I'm thinking about my sweetheart, Jackie. She was starting the trail half marathon, and she signed up for the 13.1 mile trail run, which they're starting this year in 2024. And when we arrived, actually on the way there, we were
Thank you.
learning that it was going to be 4 laps around the running course, which, we were wondering what the distance was. Like, okay, they calculated maybe 13.1-ish miles. But as we were doing the kayak safety inspection, we were told it was actually 5 laps around the running course that we're going to go on. And Jackie actually learned that it's going to be anywhere from 15 to 20 miles instead of 13.1. She wasn't really happy about that because, when you set up for a race, you kind of put it in your mind that, that's the distance that you're training for, that's the distance you're going. And, she ended up having to do a little over 15 miles, I think, is what showed up on her Garmin watch. But during the time I'm doing the triathlon, she's starting to run the 5-lap trail half marathon. So that's what she's doing right now as I'm pedaling and so forth. As you saw, the first portion of the bicycle ride was on paved surface for about a mile. And then it dumps off to the right into the woods, down the 2-track. That's what you're seeing now. And then it transitions to a single track. Now this is a tight little single track. And here I'm going uphill, and you can hear I'm straining a bit. Now this was the first time on my mountain bike in 2024, so I didn't train for this portion, and my expectation was pretty low for this part of the race. And at this point, I'm 59 years old and not out of shape, but certainly wasn't trained in mountain biking or running. I ran probably 10 miles in 2024, so I'm kind of behind the curve in my training. But I do a lot of kayak racing in the Midwest, so I was ready for the kayak portion. And also my cardio was good to go. I have no problem with cardio. I work with my hands, remodeling apartments, so I do have strength near some of the trees that are really close together there. There's a couple of young guys who are just going to blow past me here in a second.
Man, on your left here. Okay, I'll stay right here. Cheers. One more behind me. Yep, you got it. Go get him. Excellent. All right, you got it. Nice work. Yeah, you too.
And here is where I'm humbled by the fact, okay, I blew these guys away in the kayak, but they were a little better at the mountain bike than I was. And I'm sure their kayaks weren't long and skinny like mine, but these guys didn't last long in my eyesight. They drifted off into the woods pretty quickly. So fun race. A lot of rocks on the course. Rocks and trees and roots and all kinds of fun. If you like mountain biking, this is going to be a fun course for you. It is so much fun. The bicycle course is 12.5 miles. And one thing that the Wolfman does really well is they put markings on the side of the trail counting down the mileage, which I really like. So as you're riding your bike through the woods, okay, I have 10 miles to go, and then 9 miles to go, then 8.
That hurt.
So right there I hit my shoulder on one of the trees. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I'm being a little more timid than some of those younger guys. I figured, well, I'm going to preserve myself, and at the same time, I'm staying within my cardio limits, throughout the race. I didn't want to, spend myself during the bike, so I couldn't continue with the run. I needed to pace myself a bit, so I stayed pretty close to my cardio limit throughout the race. You can see those trees are real close together. You have to lean left, lean right real fast, and get your handlebars through there. Even on the downhills, you really don't have the opportunity to bonsai it. You just can't, run full throttle and jump into that higher gear as you're going downhill. It's too twisty, turny, and you have the trees that are all in the way of your handlebars in some areas, and rocks and all that stuff. So you really have to truly navigate this course. It's a very technical little mountain bike course, which I was loving life. This is a lot of fun. And like I said, I didn't record the entire mountain bike section of the race. I just tried to capture the different areas, and just like the river portion of the race, I don't know the course well enough to even highlight and tell you, okay, this is this portion, this is that portion. But I will say it is all beautiful, and it's up in the woods. Very technical, a lot of trees. There's not one portion of this triathlon where I was bored or I felt that it wasn't a cool course. So when it opens up into the T-track again, you're kind of getting closer to the finish.
Thank you.
Start seeing more people. And then you cross the highway that you are familiar with, and they have some nice traffic control there. They want to make sure nobody gets hit. Right now you're starting to feel real good about things.
Thank you.
This is the road into the adventure camp where the race is held. It's a Boy Scout adventure camp. So at this point I'm in familiar territory on the hard pan, and it's downhill, and I'm looking forward to the run. And it's fun to thank the volunteers and all the people along the way as you ride by, letting them know that we definitely appreciate their service to the race. And here I'm coming into the transition from the bike to the run, and they take your bike from you. They take everything, your helmet and all that good stuff. They store it off to the side. See, my bike is going away there.
Thank you, guys.
Off I went. Here we start the run.
Woohoo!
Now at this point, having been in the kayak and then on the bicycle, the running legs are a challenge. Boy, it's tough to get those legs moving. And it starts right uphill. I mean, you're going up the steps, and your legs aren't quite ready for all that. But that's part of the race. You've got to transition. Now this is the facilities of the camp. They kind of run you through that at first before you dump into the woods.
Also, where the transition is from the bike to the run is where I had to start my trail run at. It started an hour after the triathlon started.
Yeah, so what you're seeing now is also the run for the half marathon. They go across the same bridge, and you can see it's not a stable bridge. Boy, if you stomp too hard, you're going up and down. This is going across the same river that you kayak down. It's the Wolf River. And during the run for the triathlon, you will be running along with the runners for the half marathon. And to my knowledge, I think I only passed one of the half marathoners during my run. It was a young lady who was running. I asked if she knew where my girlfriend Jackie was, and she had no knowledge. She was kind of bonking, having a tough time. I said,
Okay, go left. You got her.
Now look at that guy go. As he ran off through the woods like a deer, I was wondering, now did I pass him in the kayak, or is he like number 30 in the kayak? Did he go faster in the kayak and mountain bike and everything else? But boy, that guy was fast. He just ran right past me like I was standing still. It was kind of fun to watch. But at this point, I was trying to get an assessment as to where Jackie was, and I never did see her on the course. She's out there ahead of me someplace, maybe finishing one of her laps. And they have these ribbons along the course that make it really, kind of easy to find the course, right up along the Wolf River. It's kind of hard to see the trail in the video, but it's a little easier when you're there in person. You can see the trail is pretty distinct, and then they highlight it with the ribbons, which gives you the reassurance that you're on the right path. If you don't see a ribbon within a few hundred feet, then you have gone off course, because they do mark it very well. A little bit more technical on the running portion than the bicycle portion. There's more roots, more boulders, more adversity to the terrain, but that's to be expected in a run course, as opposed to a bicycle course that's maybe a little more adapt to bicycles. There's another ribbon. Okay, I'm on track. Wolf River is off to the left. Beautiful scenery, and that's one thing I tried to do as much as I could is pace myself and just kind of scale it back where I could actually enjoy the scenery, enjoy the race, and enjoy the full experience. No, I didn't speed up any of the running portion of the trail, just so you kind of get an experience of what it's like to make this run. But I did cut portions of the trail out. I just didn't want to record the entire trail run. It was just too much. Ends up being about a 2.5 hour race, and if I were to record every minute of it, I'm sure everybody would be bored after about an hour. So I condensed it down to about 30 minutes or so. So Jackie and I live in Hannibal, Missouri, and I found this race on the internet using Google searches. Last year is the first time I ran the race, and Jackie unfortunately couldn't come last year. So after telling her all about it and being excited about it, I talked her into coming with me, and they had the trail half marathon. and because she doesn't like mountain biking as much as I do, she decided to do the half marathon instead of the marathon. So Hannibal, Missouri, where we live, is 540 miles from White Lake, Wisconsin, where this triathlon is held. So it's a pretty good day's drive up to the event. But I am here to tell you, I will be back next year and the year after. It is definitely worth the 540-mile drive. I don't believe there's any other race like it. I do a lot of different races, kayak racing and so forth, but this race is very unique. It's a very nice race. Now, about 3/4 of the way across the river, my GoPro battery died, so you'll see it happen here in just a little bit. The river crossing isn't bad. It's maybe knee-high, at least the 2 years that I've done it. And the current goes along pretty good, so you have to kind of stay alert during that.
All right, we have batteries again.
Nice.
We just made it across the river.
Where's everybody else? Anyhow, up we go.
They provide a rope there at the river crossing because it is pretty steep coming up. It was pretty dry this year, so it wasn't muddy like last year. A few people had to use the rope to get up the hill just because of the slippery mud. But this year is pretty dry, so I ran on up the hill. Talking about milestones, when you cross the river, you're getting fairly close to the end. They have these little ups and downs at the ends there before you come into the finish area. But crossing the river is another milestone where you know you're almost done, because the river is actually very close to the adventure camp and the area where the finish line is. Just a little run through the woods like you're seeing here.
And when you have to do the 5 laps, you do not cross the river 5 times. You actually loop around. But you do the same course, crossing the swing bridge and the running trail for those laps. And you can still hear people who are finishing, and they give a lot of hurrahs and wolf howls, and
I can see the beer tent now.
it's fun to listen to. But you just want to be done and be able to join them as well too.
Yeah, so if you're doing the half marathon, you get to hear everybody cheering and whooping and hollering, and you know they're drinking beer and you're not.
Yeah. It would almost be nicer to have 2 longer loops so you don't get to hear everyone have fun while you're still out there on the trail.
But look at the support here. You have somebody ringing bells over there.
And your family and friends can watch you come in too, because this is a nice little loop around where everybody gets to sit and watch, and they have food that they can purchase as well, drinks that they can purchase as well as you run into the finish area.
Yeah, it definitely it would not be a boring race for a spectator.
There you go.
They have the tent set up, and like Jackie said, they have a couple of food vendors and beer, and it's
Other
just
drinks, yeah.
it's a fun event. Here's the finish finally. There we go. There's beer this way.
I would love it. Thank you.
Then I had to wait for Jackie, to do those 5 laps. Here she's pulling in her finish. Good job, Jackie. Well, thank you for watching. And we'll see you at the next Wolfman Triathlon.